Folks, we are live. Welcome to Talking Crit, the no BS episode. No, lots of BS episode. Lots of crit to talk about.
Oh
Trying to,
God,
I'm trying to avoid using any choice words in the first
so much
30
crit,
seconds.
so much crit this week and
Oh
that
my
last week,
god.
and this is going to be the year of the crit because oh gosh, next we've got so much fun things to talk about. We haven't talked about the Dungeon Hobby Shop Museum
No.
$5 million gasking fee.
Five.
Uh,
That's kind of like an Austin Powers line, right? It's like I want
$5
500. No, no,
million dollars,
5 million.
and so and we haven't talked about um Watsy's in absolutely ludicrous writing guideline thing that we kind of I mean that had been out for a while, but we really had never talked about it, or it hasn't been given a lot of publicity. But once certain parties got a hold of it, it blew up, and now it's a whole huge deal because it was kind of a stealth thing, and we kind of shined a flashlight on it, and so I want to. By the way, I want to thank. I originally saw the post about that. I believe I'd have to look. Somebody posted that. Maybe it was it Robert Block? Somebody Joe Block. I'm sorry, Joe Block, not Robert Block.
Mhm.
No, not the author of Psycho. It was somebody posted that, and I sent it to Eric, and Eric was like, his reply was something like "Holy ass." and then he's done two videos on it since then, and because I just read that, I couldn't believe what I was reading. I was just laughing the whole time. So yes, we have lots to talk about on this holiday eve. Now, this year is different from the last, I think, 10 years. Well, for me, 10 years. For the show, only 3 years because I usually do the before Thanksgiving show from South Padre Island, and we're ready to go do something with relatives. But this is year I'm doing it from my wife's office because we're at home this year because my son's getting married, and my wife's going to the wedding tomorrow, and she's flying. So this was weird because normally before Thanksgiving, the last decade has meant, oh, we're going to go to my aunt's house. Tons of relatives are going to come over. All my relatives on that side of the family are Hispanic or married Hispanic. So we're talking big families. Everybody comes to the holidays. It's just incredible, and it's just weird. So this year I'm going to be all by myself. I'm bringing them to the airport, and I'm going to come back home with my daughter and son-in-law's big giant dog, and we're going to sit and we're going to watch football all day, and I'm going to eat food, and I'm going to drink booze, and I might play Xbox. It's going to be
Ooh.
it's gonna be all about me, Eric. It's gonna be all about me tomorrow. Well, what about you? What have you got going on for Thanksgiving tomorrow?
Well, see, normally we host Thanksgiving, and normally we have my
Mm-hmm.
sister, and my brother-in-law and Shannon and my mother's cousins, and this year my mother's cousin is going to be hanging out with one of her girlfriends. My sister and family are going to uh, my brother-in-law's family in Connecticut, so it's just us and the parents. So we were thinking of actually doing maybe like hibachi at our Chinese restaurant tomorrow, but then my father's feeling under the weather, so maybe we'll just Uber it and get some Uber dinner delivered. It's going to be low key Thanksgiving.
That's good. Yeah, it's. I think a lot of people are going low key this year. We're trying. Everybody's got their head down a little bit because of just stuff going on. So it makes sense. And look, I never hide this. My favorite holiday of the year is Thanksgiving, and then close behind that is July 4th. I love July 4th also, but I'm not a big Christmas guy, not a big Halloween guy, not a big Christmas guy. Definitely not a big New Year's guy. Detest my birthday. I haven't celebrated it in at least 2 decades, but I love Thanksgiving, man. It's great. And this year's going to be really different than probably any Thanksgiving I've ever had. It's crazy. It's going to be weird. So I'm looking forward to it because I want to relax. It's going to be great. Jen, there is no drawing tonight. No, you cannot win something with your power, with your witch powers, your supernatural powers. John, it may have been your post I saw on or it was, you know what? I think it might have been Reggie. I think it was Raggy. I think that's where I got it. I think that's where I found. Yes, you know what? It was Raggy. I found it. And so, oh boy. Well, we're gonna go. Okay, we got lots of posts already popping up about Dungeon Hoppers Museum. We'll probably talk about that first because that's the more hilarious part. The other part's sad. The writing stuff's sad. It's not really hilarious. It's just sad. But the DHSM stuff is hilarious. Because it's like I don't even know how to put this. It's somebody that thinks they're smart and thinks they're trying to put something over on you, but it's like a little 5-year-old kid. Like when a 5-year-old kid lies to you and you know they're lying. Like you walk in and there's a broken cookie jar on the ground. There's cookies there, and you say, "How did this happen?" And they're like, "Well."
And those came in and knocked it over. I swear.
Yeah, a monster came in and he grabbed the cookies and he knocked it over. And you're just sitting there going, "Oh my gosh, this is a lie. I know this is a lie, but I just feel sorry for you don't want to yell at the kid because you feel sorry for the kid. You just try to pull that on you." That's what this feels like, the Dungeon Hobby Shop Museum bullshit, because there's reasons you would list the Dungeon Hobby Shop Museum at $5 million, and they're all dumb reasons, and the reasons that a court would be able to see through in a second, and that we were able to see through in a second, but the person doing it thinks they're smarter than everybody else. And so, no, I'm going to sneak this past them. And fortunately or unfortunately, the real estate agent is like a lot of real estate agents. When you give them a listing like that, they get a percentage of every listing. They get a percentage when they sell it. And their eyes turn like the old Warner Brother cartoons. These little dollar signs go ching. And all they can think is 3% or whatever, 5%. Hell yeah, this is a historical landmark worth $5 million. Because my 5%, if this sells, would be,
$250,000.
Yes, and so they get all excited. And so anyway, so we'll talk about that first. And I was going to try to think if we had any other business to take care of before we just jump into stuff. Do we have any Kickstarters? Are we pimping Kickstarters?
No, but I'm going to mention something early on, and I'll mention it before we wrap again. Folks, OSR Christmas is coming up. Cool. I was just PM'd this afternoon by somebody in the hobby who is clearing out some of their collection due to space needs and is donating a significant amount of D&D known world, mostly reprints, but some box sets. So
how cool is that?
I am going to, they want to remain anonymous, so they're sending to me, and then I am going to be distributing as gifts. And there's a whole, oh my God, it's a pile of amazing goodness. So OSR Christmas will kick off beginning of December. We are going, Mike doesn't know about this yet. We're going to do 4 days of OSR Christmas will be on this live stream in December.
Whoa.
So we get a chance to give away gifts and stuff to people in the live. 2 days will be on Fridays, one for each of the live teams, and 6 days will be on the blog side. So I think that
is Jen getting excited now? Can she call up and win something? Because that would
Jen cannot be gifted.
Oh no, I bet she was all excited for like 1 second.
If your first name begins with Jen and your last name ends with Glazer.
Oh, no, that's a very narrow niche part of our audience.
Yes,
extremely niche.
So wow. It is more niche than the potential buyers for the Dungeon Hobby Shop Museum at $5 million.
Hey, Elle, if you would link me to that, I want to listen to it. I'd love to comment on it tonight. Unfortunately, I won't have a chance to listen to it before tonight's show because this is tonight's show. But I heard about that, but I couldn't find a link to the to griff on with Pundit and Wenger. I really want to listen to that, unless Eric has it somewhere.
I have the link. I have the link.
Oh, you do? Okay, yeah.
I
go
have,
ahead
and
and
I'll
send it.
tell you why I have the link. Because somebody, the pundit, was very excited to share it in the Taverns community. And I
Of course
didn't
he
get a chance
was.
to log into Facebook into like the communities that I moderate for like 2 days. It's been a busy week. Lots of
Oh yeah,
lots of
for me
doctor's
too. Me
appointments,
too. Yeah.
and it's a short week, so everything got shoved in the beginning. So I went in, and yesterday I went, oh look, there's like 2 or 3 pending posts of the same fucking shit for this I don't know, OSR censorship video from the pundit. So I approved one and I disapproved. I'm not going to like spam my community with 3 of the same
Sure.
posts. Why do that?
Right.
So I log in today, and he 3 minutes before I logged in tried to put it up again. It's like, dude, it's already fucking up. It just don't just look at the denial. It's denied. Why was it denied? Because you tried to put it in like 4 or 5 times. So relax, dude. Relax.
Well, you then and that way you can talk about that because I don't know anything about it, and I, unlike a lot of people in this world, I won't talk about things I haven't seen yet. Well, I take it back. I will sometimes just for fun, but I won't in this case because I don't really know what was said, but it sounds pretty stupid if it's true. But I'll let Eric talk about that when the time comes. Yeah. So this week we were. When was this? We were gifted with the knowledge that the Dungeon Hobby Shop Museum was going on sale.
I was up in the Poconos.
It was a week ago today.
Oh, there we go. Rachel in the
Yeah,
background.
it was. Yeah, because
a week ago.
Yeah, we didn't have time to really discuss it very deeply because it just happened. That you're absolutely right. Thanks, Rachel. She's right.
So
it was because last show we mentioned it.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
Yeah. So now here I'm gonna just give some. I'm gonna bring up the current listing, and when I say the current listing, you see, woohoo! Dungeon Hobby Shop Museum, $5 million. There you go. There you go, Julia. They changed the description, and when I say they changed the description, there is. Now this is actually not even the original. This is somebody else. Well, no, actually, maybe it is at Properties because actually her initial one, oh, it's the Christie's. They revised it again. Yeah. This is not the initial, because look what says on the screen here. Listing information updated 11/20.
Oh, okay.
At
that was
a couple days. That's Monday, right? Yeah, it's Monday.
Right.
That was Monday.
It was updated. Now, what did they update? Now, I have screenshots on my laptop. Those are the Poconos. But you can go back to my original video on this. When you read this description, it talks about how Gary and Brian Bloom created D&D. They were the creators of D&D, and they purchased.
Hold on! I got to call John Peterson and tell him he got his book wrong there. Let me see, John Peters. Oh, I got a few calls to make here. Oh, because everybody that's ever written about it has got it wrong, Eric. Let me. I'll just do a mass email. I think is what I'll do here, or how about a mass text? And I'll just text Ewald and Peterson and and Bill Meinhardt and everybody that I know that. Yeah, I need to let them know because Paul Stormberg probably needs to know this too. He because he's Yeah, I'll do it. Well, I'll do it later because we're busy right now. But yeah, I'll do a mass email later and tell them that they're carefully researched information. Oh, I better let people like Tim Kask and them know because they were there and they may. I've got a huge mass email to do later, Eric. So I'll just save that and let them all know that every single history of D&D, both oral and written, is wrong. And we'll straighten that out later. I've got time tomorrow. I'm just sitting around watching football.
There you go.
I'll just do a big mass email and say you guys have all got it wrong. Apparently Dave Arneson wasn't in the picture, and this is Bloom. A guy that was brought in later because his father owned a business and he could help dig him out of a hole after Don Kay died. And the only thing to Bloom's credit was Boot Hill, which is a Western game, which everybody agrees. I mean, it's not Boot Hill is nothing like D&D. But Boot Hill, you die by walking the door and somebody shoots you and you're dead. It's not a D&D. I mean, it's a fun game. It's just not D&D by any way, shape, or form. It's a very fast-paced Western role-playing game, and really, honestly, it's more of a fast, quick draw game to see who can draw first and shoot, and there's a lot of variables in there. So that's what his credit was. Nobody has ever wigged to the fact he created D&D because he didn't, and so yeah, that's interesting. So that's just a little cachet on there, a little fake cachet to make it seem like it's worth more than it really is. And the reason being is because said owner of Dungeon Hobby Shop claims they have found a magical letter. Eric, what does this magical letter say?
Well, the magical letter supposedly or apparently printed on the typewriter that was found in the upstairs of this house, and is allegedly, apparently, Gary Gygax's original typewriter. Although
this is some CSI bullshit, man. Wow,
yeah. This is
forensics.
Typewriter
Because this important paper was left just sitting on the typewriter the last 40 years. I mean, or last 50 years.
Not saying it was. It's not saying it was found in the typewriter. It was saying it was found upstairs, but it was apparently typed on the typewriter in question, and the letter stated that Brian Bloom was the actual co-creator of D&D, which would be
right.
You know what? Actually, here, let's put this in perspective. It's no different than what WotC is doing with the language in the 5e core rule books, which is saying, if you look at them in digital on WotC servers, it always said what it currently said. So I don't know. This is 1984 all over again. Maybe the change is the change. But so that was there was no mention of the letter in the original listing. There was, however, mention that Gary Gygax and Brian Bloom, creators of D&D, in December 26th, I purchased a house. I am not going to go through my prior video to show it. You can feel free to look at my prior video to see it. I believe Tom Veralt over on Tabletop Tap Room also had a video showing that verbiage. Now, who wrote this? Which, by the way, is written by somebody who does not understand the hobby. Because if you understood this hobby, you would not start out imagine owning the ultimate collector's dream of storytelling gaming. Storytelling gaming is what you refer to this hobby when you're not part of this hobby.
Right, because storytelling gaming is different than RPG. Matter of fact, there was a huge schism among role players about a decade ago between storytelling gaming and dice-based gaming. In that storytelling gamers would go, you know what? We played a whole session last week and we didn't roll the dice once. We just talked with our, it is, and I'll tell you, look, and I'm going to joke a lot about storytelling gaming, but you know who was a huge storytelling gaming was Doug Ray, my ex-partner in crime with North Texas. He would run a whole session where they'd roll the dice like 5 times. And I go, dude, you're doing storytelling gaming. Well, that's how I play D&D. That's how we learn how to play D&D. I'm like, okay, but I mean, I'm just telling you, that's not D&D is written. That's not raw. That's you are doing storytelling gaming. But
right.
So I'm just saying is that there's nothing wrong with storytelling gaming, but it's not the same thing as D&D. It's different. And believe me, D&D did not start out as storytelling gaming. It started out as a war game that slowly morphed into an RPG. And role gaming, what do war games use? They use chits and they use lots of rolling the dice. You roll the dice a lot. And so that was a major component of early RPGs was dice rolling, chits, and then that became miniatures, and then the wargaming aspect slowly fell off, and it became more and more. What do the dice say? Let's see what the dice say. We'll go by that. And so, storytelling is legitimate form of role playing. I mean, there's entire games now. I saw a game of kids on bicycles playing. And that's a huge storytelling. It's not a bad game. It looked like it was a really fun game, but a lot of it is based on decisions made by the players without dice being rolled. They're basically telling a story about their characters, and the game master is leading that story along whichever way it goes. They're not making it go a certain way. They're not railroading it, but they're, as the people give details, they add to those details and give them complications or bad things that might happen, and they have to work through there. And so yes, this is stupid to say this was a storytelling game. You're absolutely right, Eric. This is written by somebody who doesn't know what D&D is or doesn't know what games are.
It doesn't understand the market that they're trying to sell this to. Now let's call it what it is. If you're looking for somebody like I don't know, we'll talk about one of the
we're gonna get that, Dom. That's exactly the twisted trail we're leading to. We're gonna get to that, Don.
So the Bill Meinhardt of the gaming community. Bill has without a doubt the most complete cataloged, organized collection of gaming material. And maybe Bill at some point would be in the market to own a piece of history when it comes to property. This is not selling the Bill. Okay, you're not selling, because Bill is will want to know the chain of custody for these artifacts, the death,
provenance. Yeah, provenance is very important. Yeah, provenance is hugely important with something like
this.
Yeah.
Like I have gotten things at North Texas where Steve Marsh, from his personal collection, he had a Dangerous Journey book that was gifted to him by Gary, and Gary signed it to him. And then at the auction, I won it, and Steve addressed it to me, and you can see in my occupation the chain of custody, who it went from, who it went to, and then who has it. You don't have such for.
But by the way, real quick, Steve donated that to North Texas. He's an awesome. That guy is just an amazing guy. He donated that to us to auction off. So, that he's an incredible dude. So I'm sorry, go ahead, but Steve's great. He's great.
Steve is awesome.
Yeah,
but that I can say, hey, this was Gary's. Gary gave it to Steve, and then I got it from Steve.
Mm-hmm.
I can show that. I don't. You can assume that the shitter at the Dungeon Hobby Shop Museum goes back to Gary's time, and that Gary's ass and Tim Cass ass, and they were all sharing the shitter. You can assume if it's time. If you look at the shitter and it fits the time period, that all right. These asses were on the shitter. I don't know what price I'd put on a shitter, but you could say, can I say that this desk was Gary's? Well, do you have photos showing this desk was Gary's? Do you have photos showing this typewriter was Gary's? Because I understand, I think it's Jim Ward who says that he has Gary's typewriter that Gary did Dungeons and Dragons on, that he worked on the Dungeons and Dragons manuscript. I believe Jim Ward has that in his possession. And I believe, if I'm misquoting, please somebody for me, that Frank Metzner says that he has Gary's desk. So we don't have a chain of custody. We don't have the ability to go back and say, this is first off, it's not, dare I say it, I don't think the desk is worth $1 million or the shitter is worth $1 million. Gary's collection that's being sold right now on eBay is not going to bring in $1 million. So
that stuff it's brought in some good prices, but yeah, add it all up together, and maybe you get $1 million when you're done. But yeah, there's no item in there, unless there was a handwritten manuscript of the original rules of D&D, just something ridiculous, right? I mean, yeah, there's not one object in the collectible hobby. I feel pretty safe saying that, because I probably know of the top 10 collectors in the world. I probably know half of them personally, and so does Eric. And I would say there's not one single item like that. I mean, I can tell you some items that would get close to that. Like I said, if you had a handwritten set of the original rules that Gary had signed, that was Providence, that would be worth several $100,000 probably, right? I mean, that wouldn't be worth $1 million, but it would be worth at least $100,000, maybe a little more than that.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, there's no one thing in the hobby that's worth this much money. And so not one, like I said, you could value, I don't know, but maybe Bill Meinhardt's collection's worth a couple million, but that includes like 15 brown boxes that all belong to like Tim Cass, Rob Kuntz, Terry Kuntz, Jim Ward. I mean, that's like all. I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg. That's just the tip. I mean, so you include everything in there. Matt Coder, who lives in Japan, who has all the original artwork of all the guys like Easley and Parkinson. I bet that's over. That's probably a few $1 million. He's got just ridiculous art collection. He for about 10 years he spent that time buying up every original Easley, Otis, Parkinson, Elmore there was out there, and so he's just got this ridiculous art collection now that's probably worth over. But yeah, that's an accumulation of items. There's not one piece of art in Coder's collection that's worth $1 million. I mean, think of the most iconic piece you can. Okay, cover of the Player's Handbook. Okay, right. Now, that's not worth $1 million, and that's one of the most iconic pieces of art and pieces of history in our hobby, and yet that's not worth $1 million. So saying that Gary's debt, which by the way, this isn't the only desk Gary ever had in his life. Gary's had multiple desks, so saying that worth $1 million is just over evaluation. And so we come down to the fact this whole thing is an overvaluation, and so. Why would somebody overvaluate something? And that's what you have to look at. You have to look at motives at this point. Why is somebody overvaluating a piece of property that's conservatively worth what? $200,000, $300,000?
I think the Zillow price on it is $300,000. Now, I will actually give some caveats that Zillow may have an undervalued price, because when Zillow looks at the property, Zillow is seeing a residence. However, it's been rezoned to be commercial. Actually, it's been rezoned so that the upstairs apartment that Duck is living in could actually be a short-term rental.
Because there was talk about turning that into a not a bed and breakfast. What am I looking for? Airbnb, right?
It was approved. It was approved by the town council. So as a commercial building, its value, and I'm not a real estate agent, so is more than $300,000. However, it doesn't mean that it is valued at $5 million with the collection. So there's a disconnect going on now, Julia.
And by the way, just to throw this out there, the house that Gary and his family lived in that was bought by somebody, and there's games that are in there. They run games in there. Every Gary Con, Paul Stormberg runs games in the same basement that Gary and all the boys used to go down and play games in. That's not worth $5 million, and that's extremely historical also, because that was where the family lived in and grew up for years, and it still has the basement door that has, do not come in, we're playing games in. I mean, that's extremely historical place. That's not worth $5 million. You know what else isn't worth $5 million? The old TSR headquarters downtown that there's now a delicatessen and some other stuff. That's not worth $5 million. So there's no precedent for this ever being worth this much money. So, like I said, you look at the motive. So if you have a property that's not worth X amount, but you say it's worth X amount, and we're not going to say anything. We're just going to speculate. Absolute speculation here. This Why would you overvaluate a property by this much? You'd overvaluate a property this much if you think you're going to get your ass beaten in a lawsuit, and this is going to be some kind of leverage for you to get out. This is absolute speculation on my part. I freely admit speculation.
Right.
But it seems to me this is the kind of thing you might cut a deal with if you're, let's say Watsy was about to clean your clock in about, a year or so, and they're going to win conservatively $500,000. And you would say, well, you guys, would you like the Dunham Shop Museum? It's been evaluated at $5 million. But you know what? I'll give it to you for whatever I owe you, because you're about to just pimp slap me into next week when it comes to, money I owe you. That's that's one of the reasons, of many reasons. That's one of the reasons you would overvalue something, right? Because you're trying to set a value so maybe you can, use it as a bargaining chip to somebody that you owe money to. It's the same thing as if, look, I don't pay off my bookie, and I took a triple play on the Washington last week, Eric, because I thought the Giants are garbage after the Cowboys killed them.
I was taking the same bet.
Yeah, I take a triple play and I put my house up, and then all of a sudden the Giants, for some ungodly reason, beat the snot out of the Commanders, and then I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, I owe the bookies $800,000. Oh, I don't have that. But hey, guess what, guys? My house is worth. Now it may only evaluate for $250, but I put in a pool last year, so David Letterman slept there a lot. He slept in this bed upstairs, and he wrote his name on the wall. And so I'm going to evaluate this house at $800,000. So you can just have my house instead, because I don't really have the $800,000.
Right.
That's the kind of thing. In other words, you got to be really desperate. This is the kind of thing you do when it's a desperation move. You're just like, or maybe you're just hoping for the Hail Mary, right? Like some Hollywood type that just has more money than brains goes, oh, I just read somewhere that the house where D&D was created by Brian Bloom and Gygax sold for $5 million. Well, my last motion picture I made $75 million. I'll just go buy that, Not saying that's even a possibility either, but I'm saying that when you're desperate, I've had a couple of times in my life when I've been desperate about various things, when your brain imagines things that could happen, and you're imagining things, and later on you look back at it and you're like, dear God, what was I thinking? That was never going to happen, ever. And yet I was so desperate that I thought, okay, if I went and bought a lottery ticket and then I won the lottery and then this and you start doing these crazy scenarios, this is the kind of thing a crazy scenario guy does, whose backup is up against the wall and is about to get absolutely slobber knocked. That they just start imagining these crazy scenarios, This is the kind of thing that happens. They just say, hey, let's put this at $5 million and just roll the dice, see what happens.
Well, a couple of months ago, if I remember correctly, Ernie was talking about the possibility of the Dungeon Hobby Shop and Museum being put up for sale, and that the idea would be that whoever bought the museum would make it a not-for-profit.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that was important. That's according to Ernie, and that the museum would honor all of its previous commitments. In other words, whoever bought it, if somebody has a lifetime membership, you'd have to, give them free access whenever, and that also applied to the current owner, and who would have to be able to get access whenever they wanted. So, really, would it be selling the property or not? But Ernie was never talking about a price being put down on that. He never suggested one or discussed one.
Right.
So,
and here's the deal: is anyone with a brain, or if you're a movie star, like Joe Manganiello or who's the other movie stars that were in Gary Con last year? Vince Vaughn. Look, if the owner of this is hoping they're going to bail them out, they have money managers that
Yeah, well, keep them from doing something stupid.
Yes, they keep them from doing this stupid thing. This isn't the 70s when rock stars would go, "Hey man, I want to buy a gold Corvette," and their manager would run out and buy them a gold Corvette. No. This doesn't happen anymore. They would say like, "Oh, I want to buy the Dungeon Shop Museum," and all the money manager would say is, "This guy's going to go broke in a year. You'll be able to get it for whatever value." Whatever the price is valued at. You don't need to pay. If you can wait 6 months, it's going to be on sale. It's going to be fire sale. Fire sale. Hopefully, when I say fire sale, I mean that in the way fire sales meant, not that it accidentally burns down one night. So I don't want to think about that. That would not be good. And I don't think anybody's that dumb, but I don't know.
So Jen wants to know if there's a list of the collection items. Now, my understanding, and this is what my source told me after speaking with Julia, because she was all hyped, is that if you want a tour of the museum, which isn't the museum in business to give tours, but in any case, if you want a tour, you have to first show you have the funding. So you have to show your $5 million.
Okay.
I got my briefcase.
Okay.
$5 million. And
which, by the way, is nobody in the hobby. So go ahead.
Right.
Not one person in the hobby.
You have to sign an NDA.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't take any photos. So you are going to have to be someone who can evaluate not just by looking at stuff, but get the condition, have a photographic memory so you can come back and then itemize what you feel the value of this is. I don't know how many of you go shopping, but if you're asking me to put down $5 million, I better be able to take pictures of what I'm looking at. Just me.
I mean, it's not like you're looking at, I don't know, a Tom Cruise house and they, hey, Eric and I would like to buy a Tom Cruise house. Well, it's valued at $21 million. Yeah, can we come see it? Yeah, not that I don't think you guys, you guys look like you're doing okay with your little show and stuff, but I'm going to have evidence that you're not wasting my time, because I think you're wasting my time. I don't think that you and Eric can buy Tom Cruise's house. Well, I'm insulted, and Eric would be insulted too, but they'd be right, because we would just be screwing with their time. So that's the kind of demand you make when you own a legit property worth that much, and you don't want anybody messing around with you. You want to know, look, I want to make sure you can purchase this. The fact this is being used for this is hilarious. And I don't know if this means that Julia, the real estate agent, is just dumb, or if, like I said, her eyes are popping out like a Warner Brothers, like Tom and Jerry cat ching, these little dollar signs are popping out.
I think she's seeing 2 years worth of profit. Maybe she's saying that she could finally retire. I'm not going to guess at her age, but hey, I'm 56. I'm retired. Maybe she's saying if I make this score, I'll be set for my retirement, and that can make you look at things differently.
Yeah, sure. Oh, I don't think. I understand. This is very profoundly the work of somebody that doesn't know what they don't know anything about this. All they know is that, look, Gary was from this town. He became famous. He created this game. They made a movie of it. Yeah, maybe it's worth $5 million. I'll take a roll of dice that I'll get a gigantic. What is real estate commissions? Usually 5%, 3%. Yeah, I'll take a chance of getting 5% of $5 million, because
I'm gonna guess with a higher priced property, it's a larger chunk. So
I don't think that, she's probably got, I don't know, 15, 20 properties she's taking care of right now. So you list this one at $5 million. Nobody comes and looks at it. You're not out anything. It didn't hurt you.
8%. Don says it's 8%.
Yeah,
so
I thought it was around there. Thanks.
That would be $400,000.
Yeah. So yeah, she'll waste her time pimping it for an hour by writing that that little script there, and then nobody will ever come and see it because not one person will actually come and see it. But that's okay because she didn't waste any time with it. She's not wasting any time with it at all. And look, if somebody does put up the credentials, wants to go see it, she'll very happily show them the property, and talk it up. So she's not out anything. It's not like she has to go over there every day and sit there for 3 hours handing out brochures. I mean, she's never going to think about this again unless by some crazy circumstance somebody calls, but which nobody will because nobody's going to do this. So,
Oh no, people are
yeah.
going to call. She's going to get phone calls because people are going to make offers like, well, how about $500,000 for it?
Yeah.
And because, to be honest, most people are going to see the $5 million asking price, and then they're going to listen to even come close to that. You want a list of what makes this property valuable, and telling me that imagine owning the original Dungeon Hobby Shop, an extensive collection of curated artifacts, doesn't tell me anything. That doesn't say anything. I mean, honestly, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So this is so like I said, you can do your own speculation on why somebody would overvalue a property like this. There's many reasons out there, but this is just somebody overvaluing a property for whatever reason. And it's funny, it's sad funny, it's sad, it's funny, it's sad funny, because Eric and I know most of the big movers and shakers in the D&D world, and I don't see any one of them jumping on the phone and calling up excitedly going, yeah, I want to stay for $5 million, because look, the writing's on the wall. Everybody knows this is going to be on the market in about a year for whatever, maybe it's a little cachet to it, right? I mean, so let's say this valued at $300,000, you may be able to get another 20,000, 25 for the cachet of it. Hey, and you can make a museum out of it, or turn. The Airbnb idea is not a terrible idea, Eric.
Right.
Somebody was I mean, we know people in our hobby that have money to burn, not $5 million to burn, but they have money to burn that you could charge them a few $100s a night to come stay in the house where the Dungeon Hobby Shop was run out of, and they would be. I think that's cool.
You could probably get $1,000 a night around the convention time. People will be like, yeah. Can you imagine? I'll have bragging rights. I get to go to thing. I'm saying it's 723 William Street. Yeah, there's certainly potential in there.
Sure,
but I'm surprised the idea of that is not even mentioned in here either. Huh? That's kind of
the person who owns this has already had about 25 chances to make a lot of money off their decisions the last few years, and they've absolutely torpedoed themselves every time. So that it would just be another situation where they had a chance to actually probably make money that they just absolutely torpedoed themselves because they're stupid. And so, that's just keeping with the it's just keeping with the program there. I'm not surprised, because that's what I would think. I'd think, hey, like you said, Eric, make that bedroom up really nice, put some kick-ass, put a Dragon One in a frame thing over the bed. I mean, just put some really cool artifacts in there, picture Gary in there, and then, there's hotels that do that. They have Elvis rooms and stuff. I mean, you could have and then, like you said, charge them $1,000 a night, and they could go downstairs and see this and that. And boy, that would have, what, Eric, that'd been a great way to make money. Wow. That's weird that that the guy that owned it didn't think of that. That's weird, because that is a great way to make money. It's almost like whoever owned it has not one fucking clue how to make any money. It has not one fucking clue. And just didn't even follow up on that idea that it took us 5 minutes to figure it out. So,
well, we're good at brainstorming. Big Vic, I heard the Watsy hired law firm already called to inquire about pricing and stuff. My understanding, again from my source, is that when they called, they were told, "Oh, there's a big Hollywood West Coast company interested in this." And they're like, "What?" Yeah, they made that movie Dungeons and Dragons. So he's like, Wizards of the Coast. Yes, yes. So it tells you
Oh,
again. She has no idea about the hobby. She thinks that Wizards of the
no,
Coast is a
no.
production company. She spoke
Oh
with their
my
lawyer,
God.
who was inquiring about the property, and she thought the inquiry was legit, and it was a legit inquiry. I don't think it was an inquiry to her benefit for a potential sale. Acquisition, maybe. Sale, doubtful.
Well, probably just based on the fact that Wizards of the Coast is going to end up owning that in a year anyway. So maybe they're just trying to, oh, let's just let's go see the property we're going to own in about a year. I want to go walk through there before we own it, and just see where we're gonna, where our office is going to be there when we make it an actual bed and breakfast Airbnb, and we put a little cash register in the corner, and we sell tchotchkes out of it. Let's keep it going. Let's keep this open for whatever we're going to do with it in about a year or so, because it's not going to belong to the present owner after a while. So that's my speculation. I just don't see how this stays in the hands of the original owner after next couple years are going to be a bloodbath for this person, and it's just not going to look good. So it's not going to be good. And there's this person's going to have trouble holding on to their house where they live, much less other houses that just don't, are just sitting there not doing anything, not generating any revenue. Let's put it that way.
Don Leeson is sitting in the place trying to figure out if he can get a GoFundMe to raise $5 million. Yeah, I think Jeff is. I feel bad for Jeff. I have empathy.
Once again, when you're desperate, when you're desperate, you grasp at straws. And I've been there on a couple of times in my life about certain issues where you're just like, well, if this happened and this happened and this happened and this happened and this happened, then I could keep my car, or whatever, or then I could actually pay rent next month if all these 5 things happen in a row, and that's sadly where Jeff is at right now, because he's just, he's had the rug pulled out from under him. I mean, he's not entirely innocent in anything, right? I mean, that's just, let's lay it on the line. Nobody associated with this business is entirely innocent. They all kind of knew they were getting in bed with, with the devil. When you dance with the devil, you gotta pay the Uber on the way home too. So I don't know. That was a terrible illusion, but
Don, I emailed him, meaning Jeff Leeson, and asked him if he knew about the sale. His response was, and I quote, "No shite."
Yeah, no kidding. This is where I live. I'm not going to be able to live here pretty soon. I look. Duck shouldn't worry too much. This thing isn't selling. He's going to be there until it finally gets yanked into probate court or whatever the fuck kind of court they use to get rid of assets once somebody is sued into oblivion. I don't even know how that works. I mean, I know how bankruptcy court works, because believe me, I've had to deal with that before, so I know that. I don't know how getting sued, and losing like 6 lawsuits works. I just don't think that works out really great for you. So probably not.
Oh, hey, yeah. So
somebody had mentioned. Well, somebody had mentioned, and so I want you to tell me what this is. Somebody had mentioned. So, because I have a theory on this, that pundit and vendor were saying this wasn't true, and Griff was on their show saying it wasn't true. So just tell me the details.
I'm not the best to do it because I haven't seen the video.
Oh, you haven't?
I've only heard from multiple sources that nobody claimed there was a letter. Nobody claimed that Brian Bloom was the co-creator of D&D, but the original screenshots show that. Just because Julia got instructed to quickly change it, and Julia, who again bragged to one of my sources, that there was a letter found, because apparently Julia said something to the effect of, when my source was inquiring, And it's the house where Gary Gygax and Brian Bloom created D&D. And my source was like, oh, you mean Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson? No. There was a letter found, and it says that Gary and Brian are the ones that created D&D, and that Dave had nothing to do with it. Now, that is Julia talking to one of my sources. I am not saying I heard this firsthand. I didn't.
Mhm.
But it reflected what was initially stated in the sales pitch, Dungeons and Dragons created by Gary Gygax and Brian Bloom. So I was like, okay, then. So now she's revised it. It no longer says it was a house purchased by Gary and Brian.
Okay, so that means the letter doesn't exist anymore. How does that happen? I don't understand.
I don't know.
Eric, I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. Just the stories are changing so quick. But this is a lot like your mom when you told her you're playing D&D and what she imagined in her head, and then what you told her, and so she's telling her friends at the bridge club or the tennis club or the book club, oh yeah, my son's into D&D. They all pretend like they're monsters, and they go in a dungeon and they fight dragons in the dungeon, and they roll dice to see if they hit the dragons, and if you hit the dragons they die, and it's kind of like that Lord of the Rings thing. So that's your mom describing D&D to her friends in the bridge club, and her friends in the bridge club are just like, huh? I don't. And so this is this lady trying to understand something she doesn't know, and so she's just picking names out of a hat. Oh yeah, Brian Bloom and Gary created D&D here because it's the same thing. It's your mom trying to describe D&D to her friends, and it's the same difference. So not a clue, but it's cute. It's cute when they do it because you're going, oh, that's so sweet. The way she tried to describe it to her friends, and it just came out, like it didn't make any sense.
It makes no sense, but it made sense to her.
But it's cute.
Elle has the story pretty well. Okay. Tom and Griff were friends on Facebook, the Tom being Tom Ferrell. Tom heard about the letter, contacted Griff after doing his live on it. By the time Griff checked the video on Facebook, Tom had deleted his live and uploaded as a video. Now, just as a behind-the-scenes little thing, I don't know about this video in question, but when you do a live, there are times when sometimes you do stupid shit that
what
you don't realize.
Live can be stupid.
There's a live stream of a Wednesday night live with Mike and I that is permanently behind the "you'll never see it again" wall, because not because something I said.
I absolutely remember this one.
Yes.
Because of something I said. Yes.
Right.
Yes,
so now
it was actually, you know what, and it wasn't a bad show either. It wasn't a bad show at all. But I said some things.
I could probably go in and push my editing skills, which I have none, to the limit and remove the offensive material. I just found it easier to remove the video. So again, no, I have no insight into what happened with that particular live. But usually if a live goes down and gets re-released as a video, it's because there was something that wasn't needed, something dropped in, who the hell knows. You had a brain fart. That's generally what the behind the scenes is for that. Now, I watched the original live. I didn't watch the whole thing because I was up in the Poconos and running around, but I watched part of it. I don't know what was changed before it was turned into a video, but if the claim is, well, we never saw it. Listen, I never saw the letter. Tom never saw the letter. We were just told about the letter.
Yeah.
Me from my source, him from his source. I don't know if it's the same source. That this was what Julia was talking about. That's not important. What's important is the idea that when you went to the damn website, Julia was saying that Gary and Brian Bloom were the co-creators of D&D. Again, she has no clue. she was working with what she was likely told. It's not like she knew Brian Bloom's name and pulled it out of her ass.
She didn't know who Gary Gygax was until 2 weeks ago, probably.
No.
So
Yeah.
you know.
So Griff then blocked Tom on Facebook. Tom Verall, Tabletop Taproom, John. Tom does a great job talking not just about events in the industry. He's a Star Frontiers guy, and he's a good friend.
Yeah.
Sunday Griff was asked by me, meaning L, at pundit's request, and Griff said there is no photographic proof of the claims Bruce created D&D, not arson. Listen, all I can attest to is my source was told there's a letter, which we have not seen, and Julia on the initial sales pitch said Gary and Brian Bloom created D&D.
Okay.
All right. So if I agree with Griff, there's no photographic proof of that claim, but there was a claim made by Julia. Doesn't make it real, doesn't make it a legit claim, doesn't make it the truth, but Julia claimed that in her sales pitch. Maybe she misheard somebody when they were talking about, and she filled in the blanks. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah. I kind of always say don't subscribe to, malice. What could just be stupidity, and this could just be dumbness on her part. So, and maybe she realized that she'd overstated herself here and said, "Oh, I better pull that," because I actually went to Google, and Google says that Brian Bloom had nothing to do with D&D. There's something in D&D. So,
Brian Bloom. Is that anything?
I just pulled that name out of my ass, and that So it could
like Judy. Is that like Judy Bloom? Are they related?
Yeah, maybe she thought, Judy Bloom's husband or something. Yeah.
Elle says implying that Elle, Eric, Tom, Cinder Shadow, and others were lying to be mean to Lanasa.
Oh, that's just so. Who implied that? Pundit or Venger or both?
I don't know. It wasn't
well.
me.
Let me just throw something out there. Pundit is entertaining, but Pundit will often throw hand grenades just for fun. So let's just leave it at that. He will know something's not true or something's shaky, but he likes to throw hand grenades, and so he'll throw a hand grenade and giggle and run behind a building and giggle as it blows up and just to see what, kind of debris falls everywhere. And then he'll come back 3 weeks later, because I don't know if you remember, but way back in the day, he was very pro Lanasa until things started going a certain way. And then he said that it was like, I never really was behind him. I was just, I just like to throw bombs at, no, actually his explanation, I'll tell you exactly what it was, is that he hated the people against him more than he hated Justin. So he thought, what the hell, I'll support him for a while because I really hate the people that don't like him. And then when things went a certain way, he just kind of was like, I'm just going to back slowly. You know the meme of Homer backing into the plant?
Oh, God, yep.
that was Pundit. That was Pundit backing into the plant going, yeah, I'm just going to back out of here now, So, yeah, I wouldn't say anything in that. Just that he just likes to, get hits on his YouTube channel, and he just wants to remain relevant, and he doesn't like progressives in the hobby, and so he's a shock. I don't know. He's not really a shock. I wouldn't call him a shock jock. He's not shock jockey as some of the people we know. I mean, Venger's kind of a shock jock. He will shock jock you, but Pundit's more of a just kind of a Molotov cocktail thrower that runs away. He throws it and then he runs.
He likes to stir. He likes to stir shit in.
Yeah, that's perfect. Shit stir.
In a scholastic manner, in a superior to you manner.
Yes,
that's part of his shtick, and that's fine.
He's definitely a shit stir. And look, I will say that Pundit has a lot of times he has a legit reason, because he gets He gets treated badly by certain groups of people, I think, over the top. But I mean, from what he does, because he's an actual creator, he creates material. It's not like he's just not doing anything, and he gets hammered by some people, so he has a legit reason to kind of be a jerk. But yeah, this I wouldn't take a lot of things he said absolutely 100% seriously, because he'll back away eventually when it turns out that it's not really what he thought it would be. And by the way, Pundit, if you disagree with this, you're welcome to come on the show and talk to us about it. We will absolutely let you have your whatever 30 minutes online. But I mean, that's I think that's a pretty accurate presentation. I think he likes to bomb throw, and I like I said, and I don't think he's entirely unjustified in hating certain people in our community, because he does get treated badly, But so yeah, I wouldn't put a whole lot of stock in that. And once again, then Mr. Satanis is also a bomb thrower, shit stirrer. So I'm not surprised that they would say stuff like they say. So I'll watch the video. So I hate to talk about things I haven't seen yet.
You can speak about it better next time.
Yeah,
right.
We'll see.
Thanks, I believe, to Mr. Gunn. I'm going to. I just checked my email. This is here. We're not going to be talking about bad stuff. We're going to be talking about good stuff for a moment. Mike has no idea. Where's the Shadow Barge? Greetings, Shadow Barge.
Oh, I know what this is. Yeah, I've kept up with this.
I'm very excited to say the Shadow Barge has made it through all rivers, seas, and canals. It's now chugging over the open Atlantic toward the port of New York. We're expecting all material, some of which is on its way via another ship that I sadly cannot learn any details about, to reach the port by the end of the month, which is, I'm looking for my watch, but it's charging just over a week, right? From there, the material will spend some time processing in customs and a bit more time in transition to the warehouse, which is, thankfully, very close to the port. So our last estimate is still on track. We expect to move into fulfillment sometime in December. Will freighting 30-ish tons of books to New Jersey go according to plan? Well, God bless, hopefully. So I wanted to make sure that I know a lot of our viewers are backers. I'm obviously a backer. Mike is a backer.
Yep. And this is not unusual. Look, during the COVID year, Frog Guy, we had our stuff backed up for 6 months because the Chinese printers shut down. Everything in China shut down. And so everything they had a due date of, say, it was going to arrive in February, didn't arrive till, August or later. And so the thing about Chinese shipping is it's much cheaper than the United States. So a lot of people cannot even afford to print their stuff in the United States because it's cost prohibitive. But you're at the mercy of the Chinese shipping schedules, and you just don't know. I mean, you can guesstimate. It should be here. I think their initial thing was August. It was supposed to be here in August or September, but you just can't know. The way that thing's set up, you just don't know.
Elle says that it wasn't Pundit that was throwing the shot.
Well, I know that, but I was just talking about Pundit in general, not in specific.
It was Griff, and that's listen. We've actually had Griff on the show.
Yeah, we've had him on the show. We've absolutely had him, and he's a nice guy, okay guy. I mean, but I don't know why he would say this, but I'm not going to speculate on that. I don't know. I mean, I don't know Griff well enough to why he would say that wasn't said when it was. We have screenshots. We have actual receipts and screenshots of that it was said. So whatever. So I mean, look. At this point, if you're in this certain person's corner, I don't know what to tell you anymore. You've gone beyond the bounds of human reason, because the evidence that this person is garbage is, I maybe J.R. Exner above can explain more what he's trying to say there. I don't understand really what he's saying. The allegations against him are so over the top. And the reason are so over the top that they're difficult to take seriously. Why would anyone say the stuff he's accused of? Man, I can't even speculate. I mean, people do crazy stuff every day or weird stuff. I don't I'm not speculating why they would say that. I'm just saying that the evidence they have said it is overwhelming. So,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know why. I don't know why they have, but there's really no credible source that say they didn't say it. There's nobody out there. There's not even anybody out there at this point saying, "Oh no, wait, that was all wrong. That didn't happen." Nobody's saying that. So, anyway,
It's well documented. A lot of the stuff.
yeah,
is
very well documented. This is all screenshotted out the wazoo by the way, not even by Eric and I. This is by Tom and Don and there's a ton of guys out there that have documented this. Very, go watch one of Tom's videos. Go watch one of Don's videos. It's extremely well documented that this actually happened. So, who knows why they do it? I don't know. Why did Oswald shoot Kennedy? We're not sure. Which, by the way, happened this week. It's 60 years ago. 60th anniversary this week, Eric.
Is that like a holiday in Dallas? Or
no, it is not a holiday. My God.
All right, a day of remembrance.
Well, just a little bit of history for like not even 5 minutes. Because of what happened to JFK 60 years ago, the whole city of Dallas is kind of reviled for a while. It was very much, the butt of. I mean, if this had been during the internet age, it'd be all these memes about how terrible Dallas is. And a lot of people were heard to say Dallas, the city of Dallas killed JFK. I mean, they blamed the entire city of Dallas and the whole attitude at the time because Dallas was very anti-Kennedy, Democrat, pro-Republican. And by the way, the tables have turned now 60 years later because all the big cities in Texas are now blue, but back then they were all red and they didn't like him. And there was all these protests against him coming to the, state. And so the consensus was Dallas killed Kennedy. And so for years, there was a lot of collective guilt almost, and it was real quiet about it. Nobody talked about it. Nobody said anything about it. It wasn't a big deal. Big deal was not made of it every year. There was no, until about a decade ago, there was no really memorial to it. And then if you come to Dallas, I'd say the one tourist attraction to see is the JFK Museum, which is at the School Book Depository. They've turned it into a museum. I've been on the tour. It is unbelievable. It is incredible. It's a headphone tour. You go up every floor until you end up on the floor that has the rifle, and it has the spot glassed off where Oswald was. It's amazing tour. It tells you everything that was going on in Texas that week, in the world that week, in the United States that week, in Dallas that week. It goes into every aspect of it. It is just one of the most. It's a whole day affair. You're gonna have to spend all day there. I did it once with my sister-in-law came in town. We did it. It was well worth the time. So nobody talked about that for a long time, Eric. I can remember. I think the first time I really remember people talking about it was the 25th anniversary when it happened. People were kind of like, yeah, this happened, this sucked, but people just try not to talk about it. And another thing, this is a little bit of history too. One of the reasons the Dallas Cowboys came into being in 1961, and they were terrible their first few years.
Right.
And then they started getting good, about 65, 66. And of course they had a long run. What was like 30 years in the playoffs or something crazy. One of the reasons they were so rapidly embraced by the city of Dallas was to get away from the JFK stuff. Because it was like, oh, here's something we can be proud of finally, is the Cowboys. Look how good they are, And they had guys like, Roger Staubach and Leroy Jordan and Bob Lilly, these all-American type guys, Bullet Bob Hayes. And so that was something good about the city, right? The city that had killed JFK, suddenly there's something to rally around. And they actually played in Dallas in those days, Eric. They played in the Cotton Bowl, which was in Dallas. And so the city, that is one of the reasons why they were so, you still have these fanatic Cowboy fans this day, because that took away from the stink of the JFK assassination. The fact that, hey, we have something good about our city to talk about. So just a little bit of history there. But yeah, 60th anniversary this week. And like I said, if you ever get to Dallas and you're just wondering what to do, don't go do see stupid stuff like the the ranch, the Dallas Ranch, which is that's dumb. I mean, go do something really interesting. Go to the JFK Assassination Museum, and it's you get to see everything. You get to see the grassy knoll, the X on the. They have an actual X on the road, exactly where it was when the bullet struck him. You can go to you actually get to go in the school book depository. It's absolutely amazing. So go do that. Don't spend any time doing other dumb Dallas stuff. I'm just always amazed all the people that, oh, we're going to go to Dallas. We want to see the ranch, well, first of all, no filming was ever done at this ranch. The only time this ranch appeared was at the opening credits of the show Dallas. They would show the ranch from up above. There was zero filming ever done at that place. It's just a ranch. There is a million ranches like that in Texas. There's no point in you being interested in that ranch. So go see the school book depository instead. So I'm sorry. The Dallas, what? Somebody called him. Formed from ex Mr. JFK. Yeah, that's not even funny. Although I did laugh.
It was partially funny. It was so funny.
All I can say is 5 rings, baby. Boom. So
if they're not your rings, Michael,
suck on that. Suck on that, haters. 5 rings. Unless you're a Steeler fan or a Patriots fan, just get on out of town. Don't want to talk to you. Talk to the hand. Talk to the hand unless you have 6 like the Steelers and the Patriots do.
No. I'm a Jets fan. We don't collect that shit.
We got one for the pinky. You got one for your pinky, man.
Dude, we collect quarterbacks. What we do.
Oh yeah, hey, you won't be you'll be starting a new one this weekend. Hey, Rodgers may come back by Christmas.
Yeah, hey, with the Jets,
if they can hang around 500.
Actually, what? Both New York teams. First string, who needs our first string quarterback? Second string, who needs a second string quarterback? That quarterback that normally is inactive for the game? Yeah. That's what we got now. So what do we do for the inactive?
I'm going back. I'm reading stuff. Look, JR says, I don't know the whole story, but occasional line, but can't think of a logical reason anyone would make up a racist stuff for this game. Okay, look at what you said, and then just take that out. A logical reason. Yeah, you're right. There is no logical reason. There is no logical reason. You're absolutely right. So I'm just saying, just take your own words and look at it and just realize sometimes things happen in our universe that make no sense because people are either stupid or clueless or, things don't always make sense in this crazy world. But it's well documented that it happened.
Documented.
It's well documented,
So, all right. Shall we go to the part?
Yes, let's go to. Let's do our daily dose of this week in gaming stupid.
This week we've already done some gaming stupid, but let's go. Let's go to the videotape. Let's go to what would Watsy do? Oh, this is where I stopped when I was doing this before. So this is I guess I got up to the madness, insanity, and crazy aspect of the changes in Player's Handbook, the DMG, and the Monster Manual for 5e 2014 edition. Now, I'm going to preface this before anybody goes, these changes suck, these changes are great. Whatever your opinion is of these changes, it's fine. The fact that these changes are being presented in the digital format as if they always were there, not indicating that this stuff will change. They put a fucking disclaimer on all the old material, right? To product of its time, but they're pretending that the 5e 2014 rules were never a product of their time. That they've always conformed to 2023 sensibilities. So, Mike, I know you got an opinion on this. Let's hear your opinion.
Okay. What specifically? I'm
Oh,
arguing.
no.
I'm arguing football in the comments here. No. So here's the deal. It's so hard to compose your thoughts without curse words. But what's the point of this? What's the point? What's the point? Because you're not fooling anyone, right? I mean, you're not fooling anybody. It's I don't. Some of these changes are just so goofball and minute. I think the one I thought was funny is that that these remind me of when people would just change a word and think that now it means something totally different. Because instead of wife you say spouse. Well, you can't say wife because you don't know. I mean, you have to say spouse now. Well, why not just say wife or husband? No. You have to say spouse. Okay, well, okay, so a dude married another dude, so that's their husband. No, you have to say spouse. I mean, you're not hiding anything. You're not fixing anything. And so I just don't. I don't. This is just change. This reminds me of So the old saying about where I used to work at a company. Every few years you'd have these consultants come in, right? And they consult, and they pay them to consult about certain things, and they would blah 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 whatever, and then they would suggest all these changes, most of which, by the way, we'd already tried to do like 5 times, and they hadn't
Right. worked.
And so the old saying about consultants is consultants are like pigeons. They fly in, they crap all over everything, and they leave. And that's exactly the same thing. This reeks of a consultant thing. A consultant said, well, let's find a word that doesn't seem quite as harsh and use that one. And so what I think is funny about this specifically, the planes of madness over overwhelming chaos, is that, well, we were talking before the show, and I used my example was insanity because like,
Right.
okay, well, we can't use insanity. By definition, somebody that's insane, that's not just like having ADHD or dyslexia, you know what I'm saying? Or something like that. Insanity is the guy who digs up a grave and eats the corpse and then, goes and, you know what I'm saying? That's just over the top. That's something that person shouldn't be in society anymore. If they're insane, if by you are clinically insane, you don't need to be interacting in society. You could do something really bad. So I don't understand what the prohibition on saying somebody is insane, because that's you're not making fun of people with mental disabilities or just mild disabilities, and a lot of people have. A lot of my friends, I have tons of friends that have ADD, ADHD, dyslexia, mild schizophrenia, even. I mean, things like that. No, that's not insanity. Insanity is you're off your rocker. You're worshiping Cthulhu, basically.
Right.
You want him to come out of the Pacific Ocean and eat humanity. That is what insanity is. So by trying to sugarcoat insanity, that's just the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. And then trying to say, well, instead of saying it's a plane of madness, it's a place of overwhelming chaos. You're not fooling anyone. No one is. I mean, the people who did this, of course, are patting themselves on the back because they basically did a game. They played a game of
Mad Libs.
Semantics.
The game of fucking Mad Libs is what we're looking at.
They played semantics where, okay, this is the game. You can't use the word madness. What do you use instead of madness? Go. Chaos. Boom. You win.
Chaos.
That's all it is.
Nobody's offended by chaos.
It's a semantic language. It's a semantic.
But now, Mike, let's look at the second offering here on the screen right now. Have been driven mad, and now have driven many to delirium. Now, I was like, okay, why are we using delirium? Well, let's see what the Mayo Clinic says about delirium. It's a serious change in mental abilities. It results in confused thinking and a lack of awareness of someone's surroundings. The disorder usually comes on fast, within hours or a few days. Delirium can be traced to one or more factors. So are they really doing any? They're taking something that people in general go, oh, well, yeah, it was driven mad. Oh my God, my mother has suffered from delirium, and how can they put that in? That's going to be.
So, Eric, you remember we've had discussions before about something called performative activism? Performative activism. I'll spell it out. So, once again, performative activism rears its ugly head. Performative activism is where you pretend like you're doing something really amazingly awesome for the community, and it's really just a pat on the head. And okay, we did our job. Kind of like okay. A lot of companies that I'm sorry, and please correct me if you know this, but is it June that's LGBTQ Appreciation Month, or is that
Pride Month? Yeah,
Pride Month? Okay, so Pride Month, it's like the companies that for Pride Month pull out all their rainbow beer cans and motor scooters and soft drinks, and as soon as the last day of June comes, they shut it all down, and we're back to flags and beer drinking dudes with beards and beer bellies, and forget all the other stuff. Well, we don't really do that anymore. That was just for the month of June because we don't really care about you, LGBTQ community. We're just doing this. It's performative activism. We're just pretending so we can get an attaboys. Oh my gosh, you guys are so great. You made your you made your lawnmowers have rainbows on them for 1 month, and then you yanked them all after that month. That's what it's called performance. This is just another type of performative activism. People who don't really feel one way or the other, but they're just trying to act. They're trying to appear like they really care about this subject, and they really don't. They don't care about you. They don't care about any of these subjects. They just care about looking good for people who are not going to really dig too deeply. Yeah, guard the treasure of the insane wizard, or is it the villainous wizard?
Well, that's totally different change in the meaning.
Which, by the way, those words don't mean this. Eric, those words don't mean the same thing. You know that, right?
They're not even close to each other. And by the way,
no.
Somebody in the comments section of the original video was like, well, if you need different words, if you need the old words to describe things as a DM, then you're weak as a DM or something to that effect. And first off, 5e has a shortage of DMs, right? We saw that article last year that so why would you make it harder for them? An insane wizard has a certain image. A villainous wizard, what is it? The guy with the mustache, and he's twirling the end of the mustache, and I'm a villainous wizard. I'm gonna do villainy. Is a lot.
Yeah, these are not somebody who's villainous is not automatically insane. Just like somebody who's insane is not automatically villain. These are not synonyms, folks. That this is just they mean totally different things. The same reason as the one below it, useful and crazy enough, useful and foolhardy enough. Those are not synonyms, folks. Those are absolutely not synonyms.
Wait, crazy and foolhardy, and I don't understand. Crazy is I mean, if people are crazy, right? These are the ones that historically would have not been walking the streets. If you're in New York right now, they probably are walking the streets. They're the ones that randomly attack people, right? The emotionally disturbed persons that are taken to the extremes. These are the violently emotionally disturbed. That would be crazy. Crazy and foolhardy, though, there's no similarity between that.
Right.
Maybe reckless. Reckless becomes something that's like foolhardy.
I mean, the one below it, even go insane with fear is not overcome by fear. These are not synonymous words. These are changing the actual meaning. I can understand if you want to. So I was talking to Eric before that. So one of the words that we no longer use in polite society is the word gypsy, and the word gypsy it came about because the Roma were called gypsies, which was shortened to gyppos, which was shortened to the word gyp. And it means that if you went to a gypsy camp, a lot of times you got conned and you got taken. And so it became synonymous with a person, And so, yes, it was eventually decided that let's not call a whole ethnic group criminals is what it boils down to, right? I mean, if you call them gypsies, you're saying you're all you're all common and criminals. So that the word gypsy basically meant you were a con man. And so they said, let's call them Roma instead. Okay, that makes sense, right? I mean, that makes a kind of sense. Okay, let's don't immediately assume everybody this nationality or ethnic group is. This makes no sense because this is not the same. It doesn't make any sense because it's not the same word.
No,
It has
and it's
different
not even-
meanings.
and it changes the meaning, and maybe the intention is to change the meaning. But I think that if you're going to be creating a game, publishing for a game that is about conflict, there needs to be things to have conflict with it. There has to be actual conflict. A mad person is now a prophet. A mad woman is now a soothsayer. That changes the whole.
Absolutely. Anybody, and we probably have a good segment of our audience that, let's say, they suffer from dyslexia. Have you ever been offended by the word insane? I mean, have you ever been called insane because you have dyslexia? That doesn't make any sense. That's actually insane. To call somebody with dyslexia, my mother has dyslexia. She's not insane. It's not a synonym, My brother has ADHD. It's not synonymous with insanity. Insanity should only offend other insane people, which by the way, by the letter of the word would mean you're not in touch with reality one bit. You're off. Meds aren't going to cure you. Meds are not going to make you better if you're insane. You're out there. Like I said, you're worshiping the outer gods and hoping Cthulhu comes and destroys the human race. So performative activism, folks, this is absolutely a great example of somebody solving a problem that was not there before they created the problem to be solved, because they're probably middle managers that must justify the salary they're paid. And so if you're a middle manager, things at your company can be running absolutely smoothly, but then that means you're out of a job. You've got to create conflict somewhere so you can swoop in and fix everything, right? And this is what this reeks of. This is absolutely reeks of. Well, the reason, so Mr. Gunn said the gypsy common phrase. The reason it's a common phrase is because having to do with gypsies, and gypsies were basically, so it's a circle. It all goes in a circle.
I personally like the following one. The original typical campaign, characters aren't driven mad by horrors they face and the carnage they inflict, has now become, in many campaigns, little focus is placed on the mental and emotional impact of the dangers characters face. So characters, carnage has a certain image, right? Your players are role playing murder hobos for the most part, right?
Sure.
No, it's your mental and emotional impact on the dangers characters face.
Was this ever a problem before they said it was a problem?
I don't think so.
When you in the 80s, in 1983, Eric, remember, sir, you were on the stand. I want you to remember back to 1983. Did you ever realize that when you were saying a monster was insane, you were actually insulting all your players that were had some kind of mental illness? Or was it a problem? Is that what you immediately thought when you said that the wizard was insane? Did you immediately picture your friends who when they read words, they accidentally change around some of the letters? No, nobody was doing that. No, it wasn't a problem. The same way that nobody thought that orcs were standing for black people until WotC told us that's what they were, and we were like, huh? Wait a second. I've been playing for 40 years and we never thought that. Oh no, yes, you did. You thought that the whole time because we thought it. And this reveals more about them than it does about us, folks. It reveals more about what they think about. They sit around and think about this all day, which tells you everything you need to know about them. Very little about us, people play the game, but everything about the people at WotC and what they think about all day.
So Mike, I'm going to give you the next one.
Oh boy.
Okay, the top of the screen
Okay.
there, because this one really is a head scratcher. So go ahead, take it away.
Is this Writings of Raving Lunatics?
Yes. So
To
the
decipher the
original,
writings of raving lunatics, or to learn spells for,
whatever.
or decipher the incomprehensible scrawlings of witnesses. So raving lunatics is a synonym for witnesses is a synonym for raving lunatics.
Right. And let me give a witness. So now, if I was going to be offended, right, I, as a Christian, would say, well, often it's like, as a Christian, it's like you can we all witness this? Can we? It's often used in worship in certain Christian denominations. Everybody becomes a witness. Are they saying that witnesses are raving lunatics?
It sure sounds like it, doesn't it? That they're trying to equate the words.
That blows my mind. Raving lunatics has become tormented captives.
That's two totally different things, and so that there's two totally different things.
Deranged worshippers are just worshippers because
So all worshipers are just insane. So any worshiper of anything is crazy in D&D land, D&D world.
Yes. So let's see. Drifts to places beyond its normal madness. It's all taken out. I like this one. Glimmers of madness become erratic servants. Flickers of madness is now quirks.
Oh yeah, because my quirky girlfriend who likes to wear her socks inside out is basically insane. Synonyms, right?
Yeah. So now there's material just dropped. Drow transformed into Drow to return to the material plane as twisted and debased creatures driven by madness. Take out all that transformed, driven by madness. Nope. And unlike evil acolytes, cultists often show signs of insanity in their belief and practices. Take it away.
Solving problems that don't exist, look, if you're writing for WotC at this point, why? Why would you? Why? I guess your stuff gets a lot more exposure. I mean, you do, although artists are told not to do stuff just for exposure because that's not really good. Is anybody? I haven't seen. I don't know what the general makeup is. Are people defending this and saying this? This makes a lot of sense. I mean, besides the usual, I could name about 3 names here. People that would that like to bend down and bend over for WotC because they either want a job with WotC or they used to work for WotC or they're scared WotC's going to fire them. Those 3 people, but other than that, are people seriously defending this and saying, this is just something that has to happen in the gaming hobby. We just have to change this. Anybody seriously involved with writing, that's defending this?
All right, so here I'm going to look at one now. The result is always a half ogre. Ogres don't mate with dwarves, halflings, or elves; they eat them. Human mothers rarely survive the birth of a half ogre offspring. Has now become also called a nobilium when the non-ogre parent is an orc. They left out the whole part about they don't breed with dwarves, halflings, or elves. An adult half ogre stands. They remove that part that the birthing process could often kill the human because there's an inference in half ogre and half orcs, right? The inference always, or played out state, it was never a willing offspring. There was no love between ogres. And if you want to say orcs are humanoids and they're intelligent and they should be their own player character race, that's great. Ogres aren't.
This is a Saturday Night Live routine.
Well, here,
I mean, this is let's go back to the early '90s. This is Dana Carvey and Phil Hartman doing a bit. I mean, this is this is just a joke. I mean, this is Saturday. It's a Saturday Night Live routine. We would be laughing at this 30 years ago, and now we're like taking it seriously.
The Drow have taken an interest in breeding quaggas. Now the Drow have taken interest in recruiting and training quaggas.
Yeah, because they just appear out of nothingness. You find them now. Like you don't breed dogs, you just find them, right? I mean, I've never seen a dog actually breed. I just find them on the street, and oh dear, I mean, you can't even make fun of this. It's just so brain boggling that you're just like, dear God. I like this that they can't use dark anymore. That's great too, because dark might imply, even though dark isn't a color, there's no color named dark. Dark could mean a lot of things. Dark could just mean, I mean, look, traditionally in the history of the world, the cavemen didn't like dark. Why didn't they like dark, Eric? Well, they didn't have light. And so you didn't want to go do things at night, because if you're walking along the path at night, the saber-toothed tiger or whatever would grab you and munch you down because you couldn't see it. So dark was originally associated with bad things happen in the night or the dark. And, it's just part of what do you call it? What is the word I'm looking for? Not history, but, just like just part of our makeup is that you learn to fear. It's like the number 13. 13 was feared because they couldn't count past 12, and anything that was the unknown. Well, yeah, the dark holds the unknown. That's when bad things were running around in the dark. So maybe if it was the black elves, I could understand that. Okay, yeah, black. We don't want black associated with evil, but dark. The dark could mean a lot of things. The dark religion, the dark blade, the dark, that could mean, it doesn't have to mean a color. It could mean something that happens that, the opposite of light is dark. Light's when you can see stuff. Light grows the crops. Light is good, for a better term. The darkness is not good. So
now, and I'm just gonna. There's a whole thing with the Drow here, and Drow fear and shun the Driders, holding them in lower esteem than slaves, and that becomes, they despise Driders. They don't shun. Shunning is bad, but you can despise them. And you took out.
Well, there must be some buzzword that I don't get. Then there's some kind of buzzword.
And holding them in lower esteem than slaves. Take out the slavery part, but this still seems to me that Drow are being depicted as an evil race, but I thought they weren't allowed to be depicted as an evil race.
Wait a second. Whatever happened. Yeah, you can't mention. I bet slavery's on there somewhere too, right? Slavery's huge no. Nobody ever took slaves in the history of our world, and so we can't actually refer to that because. Wait. There's slaves in our world now that we live in 2024. Well, let's don't talk about that. That didn't actually happen.
So now,
look at this one. Yeah, you can't make
low intelligence as a species. Boy.
You can't make fun of intelligence, of course.
Dim-witted is now incurious. Totally different meaning.
That's not the same. Yeah,
hill giants are no longer dim-witted, even if they are low intelligence.
Could you just say low intelligence then? Just not say dim-witted?
I don't know.
Come on, Eric. I'm counting on you to dish me Watsy's reasoning here, even though it makes no sense.
The Kuo-toa were simple creatures, never meant to endure the oppressive mental.
Yeah,
they're unable.
By the way, Stuart makes a great point. Why would they take issue with words to describe people who have low intelligence? They literally have a stat in the game about it.
Well, don't talk sense. Don't
pay attention to what your intelligence score is. My intelligence is 5. What's yours? 18. Well, as the DM, I have to say that you can't call him not as smart as you. He's just less curious than you. He's incurious. You're even though your intelligence is 18, his is 5. We're gonna ignore that. I mean, how could they even by their own stats? People are stronger. Okay, by their own game system, Eric. Some people are stronger than others. Some people are wiser than others. Some people are more intelligent than others.
Yes.
Some people are hardier than others. Some people are faster than others. And here's the best one, Eric. By their own stat system, some people are better looking than others and
Better
are
liked. More popular.
better liked and more popular.
Oh my God. How
Oh,
dare it
boy.
be?
Do they know their game is promoting all this horrific
And then,
stuff?
listen, for now on, everybody's going to have 15s across the board. You know, you're all going to be above the average.
Grandma's right. All PCs now 18 all stats. We want anybody to feel like they're less intelligent than anybody else or, less charismatic. Oh, my God, that'd be horrible. Oh, my God.
So savage and degenerate troglodytes are now violent and ever hungry.
Yeah, I know why that came about. That's more closet racism by Watsy's people. Yeah. They're I mean, we're talking about a lot of closet racists here that are letting their freak flag show by saying some of these things, because these aren't things that I think about or that Eric thinks about or we think about. These are things that they think about. And so that tells you that they're the racists, because they're the ones thinking that savage equates to certain ethnic groups. Not I. I don't think that. Matter of fact, never thought that. I never thought that primitive goes to certain, racial groups, but they do. That's the first place they go.
And not for nothing, generally speaking, every ancient culture regarded other ancient cultures as primitive.
Primitive.
The Chinese saw everyone else as primitive.
Everyone, yes, every other country, yes. But in their defense, they were very advanced in writing, in calligraphy, and all kinds of things before Europe was. Europeans thought they were badass until they went to China and go, "Oh shit, these guys have been writing. These guys have fireworks. We don't. They know how to do gunpowder. Holy shit, we are dumb. Europeans are stupid. Oh my God, we thought the Chinese are way ahead of us. So yes, it's oh boy. No, I don't even want to get into this, Eric. I'm gonna throw.
We'll
if we do gender, I'll. You know what? I'm not gonna look for my gut.
How about blinded? As you can't even.
That's pretty good. Yeah, because
blinded is unaware. Their madness. If you had to take out madness and blinding, they are now unaware. I'm married to a woman who happens to be legally blind. I don't think she was ever offended by the. You're blinded to the facts, or I don't think she was ever offended by that turn of a phrase, but and now fat.
Eric, here. Oh yeah, well yeah. Obviously, you and I have been to a lot of conventions, Eric. There are no fat people there. There's just there's well-fed people.
It's just gamer large.
I'm well-fed. I am not, clinically obese. I'm just a well-fed dude that weighs 300 pounds.
Fat, I'm big bone.
I just have 3 bills because I just like, oh God. I can say I'm fat. I know I am.
John, I don't even know it. I don't think they've actually. You know what? You're gonna probably find out the release date by going on Amazon one day.
Well, yeah, because of that. Because here's what should really get you going if you're a conspiracy theorist. The fact that next year, I think Eric and I have talked about this too. Next year is the 50th anniversary of D&D, one of the most significant dates in WotC's history. And we don't know one effing thing what they're going to do next year.
No.
Here we are in November, the end of November, and they have no release schedule for their new game. They have no release schedule for special events. They've announced no special stuff going on at Gen Con. They've done nothing to promote this 50th anniversary. That tells you a lot if you read between the lines. Is that they are in disarray and they don't know what they're doing. They're so scared because of what they did with the OGL era this year and how that backfired on them, because these are people that don't know gaming, that have never gamed, and have no idea what RPGs are about, they're scared they're really going to screw the pooch on this 50th anniversary. So they've defaulted to not saying anything rather than saying something that might offend us. And that shows you how much they care about the hobby and how much they know about the hobby, which is boop, boop, nothing.
Yep.
And that's who's in charge of WotC now. People that have no clue about the game. They don't know what RPGs are. They don't know how RPGs work. They don't know how D&D works. Don't be fooled when you hear, oh, fill in the blank executive loves to play D&D. Not true. They've probably played 3 times, in the office. They showed them how it works. They haven't played. They didn't know what D&D was 5 years ago. They have no clue. They're all Microsoft and Amazon executives that came over, and they know marketing really well, right, Eric? I mean, they know marketing. They know how to buy and sell commodities and buy and sell product. Maybe they worked for EA. They know what Madden football is probably. They probably know what, I don't know, The Witcher is or some big video game that, but they don't know what D&D is. They have no clue what it is. And so because they screwed up so badly earlier this year with the OGL, they've defaulted to saying nothing. And that's why the biggest year in the hobby is coming up next year, and there is no game plan. Eric, by their own admission, they don't even know what they're going to call the new game.
Oh, no, they do. It's going to be D&D.
D&D, not 5 point, as famously said at the April meetings in Seattle this year, not 5.5, not 6.0, not 5.1. It's just D&D. It's just going to be D&D.
It's just going to be D&D, the Endless Edition. D&D. Actually, no, because remember, the original books are now the 2014 edition, D&D 2014. It's going to be D&D 2024.
Okay, so today is November 22nd, 2023. Eric, I'm going to make a prediction. Nostradamus is going to go up here. All right, so let's write this down in our mental memory banks, right? This new D&D is going to be a colossal failure. It's going to be to gaming what the Marvels was to the MCU. Which the Marvels lost one. It's being conservatively predicted will lose over $100 million to make it the most money losing movie in the MCU ever. This is going to be the gaming version of the Marvels. It is going to, by the time it comes around, nobody's going to care. Everybody's going to be playing 5e still. They're all going to go back and buy the old rule books. They're not going to care about this. This is going to be an absolute failure. And if it when it comes out, it's probably not even going to resemble D&D. They're going to try to. It's going to be what 4E was. It's going to be a game in D. It's going to be a D&D game in name only, but it's not going to play like D&D. It's not going to look like D&D. It's not going to have, and it won't have sales like D&D. They've absolutely They haven't just strangled the goose that laid the golden egg, Eric. They strangled it, threw it out the window in Manhattan traffic. 18-wheelers and taxi cabs ran over it for about half an hour. Then it got scraped up by the trash trucks. They took it and threw it, in the dump. And that's how bad they've destroyed the goose that laid the golden egg. That they didn't just strangle it. They absolutely crushed it. And it's going to be absolute failure. This whole thing is going to be absolute failure. And will be some people fired because there's always people fired when that happens. Not the people that caused it, obviously, right, Eric? I mean, they'll fire somebody. They'll fire Jeremy Crawford, who had probably nothing to do with this and probably told them that it was a bad idea. They'll fire some people like that. They'll find a couple of people to fire, and then they'll demote a couple of people, but they'll be, what do they call it when you're not demoted but not really demoted? You just take a job in a different department, and they'll pretend like they didn't have any clue what they did wrong, and they don't know. And the next version is going to be the best version of all. And now they'll pull this one. Now we're going to listen to you guys. What do you guys?
We were listening.
Yeah.
to the vocal minority that doesn't buy your shit in the first place.
Yeah.
So now there's a whole section on slavery, but
Oh boy.
when they take out the word slaves and make it servants, are you saying that servants are the equivalent of slaves?
Oh boy.
Is the question that you know? And when it says send teams of slaves, and they say send teams, then that again changes the idea. Oh, they send willing employees.
I mean, the
No,
last one, slave pens. It's really better if you use quarters for enslaved creatures. That's just semantics. That's absolute pure semantics. That's just saying that's just rearranging the deck chairs in the Titanic. It's the same thing.
but quarters sounds higher end
I
than
guess so, yeah.
than
The
than
slave pens,
slave
yeah,
pen.
yeah. Maybe they have some tablecloths there or something. Makes it look a little nicer. Yeah,
The
probably right.
next one totally changes the meaning. Totally. Read
A
it, Mike.
slaver's den, hidden orphanages, a thieves guild. Those are not the same thing, folks.
No.
Absolutely not the same thing. Status and slave, status and service, not the same thing. So slaves and servants are not the same thing. I'm sorry. Those are not compatible words. Those are not synonyms. Do they know what synonyms and antonyms are?
No. Well,
Are you sure you know that?
I went through some of these words when I did prep before my video, and I'm trying to find does any of this stuff come up as a synonym? And they're like 14 synonyms. A couple, like, oh, that one sounds a little bit better. No, let's not use that. Let's just. Ugh. So,
Absolute failure. That all this year has taught me in the 2023 is you have a group of people that don't have a clue of how to run a gaming company, are desperately struggling to run said gaming company, and are going to fail beyond all measures of what we consider failure or success. And then we'll be happy for a while because it's always good when the villains get what's coming to them, but it's going to be sad in that they blew this opportunity during D&D's 50th anniversary to actually have some positive spin and positive cred on things. And it's going to lose they're going to lose a chunk of their audience, and they're going to be derailed on expanding their product line. But maybe that's for the best anyway. I don't care if more people join this hobby. It doesn't bother me one way or the other. I mean, the people who come to North Texas are gamers, and we'll always have people at North Texas, so I'm not worried about it. But that they should be, because they just strangled the goose that laid the golden egg. So,
well, here's a very good point from Don. Mike, you need to understand the game to make it understandable. The more I'm doing these edits does not.
Absolutely true.
And usually when you do an edit, you're doing an edit to make more clarity.
Yeah.
Right? So now, and taking stuff out can certainly lose your clarity. When they're talking about the Abyss Empire, making those creatures their slaves, their dominance made them like gods. Then the true gods appeared, smashing the Abyss Empire and freeing their slaves. Well, that sounds like, wow. And the slaves were freed, right? That's something positive. No,
Yeah.
remove all reference to slaves, including their freedom.
Aren't slaves okay? First of all, aren't slavers bad guys?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be cool if I had a party of adventurers who were good guys and they went and beat up some bad guys who were slavers? Wouldn't that be an awesome adventure? Because slavers are bad guys? I don't get why that's an issue. I mean, slavery exists in this world we live in right now, Eric.
Yeah.
There are slaves in this world we live in right now. There's people kidnapped in this world we live in right now. I mean, look at Somalia is, look what happens in Somalia and different countries. Like, there are slaves in this country. Wouldn't it be great if somebody could rescue them? That would be an awesome adventure to rescue slaves. And then to take the slavers and have beat them up enough to where or kill them to where they don't enslave people anymore. That sounds like an awesome adventure, and you affect your game world positively. Whereas maybe we can't do that in the real world.
Yeah.
Now
slavery is equated to captivity, and when they're talking about illicit, and they take and hold slaves to toil in the underdark, regarding them as free labor and crude currency was removed, but slavery becomes captivity, which does change the idea. It's not as evil, right? And again, no, this is that whole milk toast shit. All right, and
Yeah.
that's something I wanted to bring up too. When you are dealing with an implied setting or implied material, like you're talking about bad guys, there you want them to be bad. You want them to be memorable. You want your players to latch on to something. Go, oh, they're slavers. We want to kick. No, you don't want milk toast, right? You don't want. Oh, well, they're in our way, and we really should. They got captives. What are these captives? Are these captives? What do they do with their cap? Oh no, they just have their captives sit around and play card games because they're just captives.
Somebody said that. Peter Pham says no one wants to play heroic good guys. The kids want to be angsty anti-hero edgelords. You know what? I'm okay with that even because usually what an anti-hero is. Usually it's a good guy who's not completely good, like he smokes, or maybe he's a what I'm saying. He's not completely bad. He's just a little edgy. He's got an edge to him, and he's kind of doesn't obey the rules. He's rebel without a cause, right? He doesn't obey all the rules. I mean, I'm actually even okay with that. That they don't even want you to be an anti-hero. That they don't want you to, I mean, I consider like Wolverine from the comics. That's an anti-hero. You know why? Because sometimes he would carve up the bad guys. Cyclops is pissed off because like, look, dude, I told you to leave somebody alive in this basement, and all these bad guys are all dead. The Hellfire Club, they're all dead. You chopped them up.
I went a bit too far there. Sorry.
Sorry, bub. They got in my way, and I had to chop them up. I told you not to chop. I mean, that is an anti-hero. These aren't. They don't even want you to be an anti-hero. They just want you to be milk toast man. They want their adventures to be as exciting as a Nancy Drew adventure, where nobody's really in a lot of danger. You're just hunting for the missing letter or the stolen, silver bowl, and you're running around, and you don't really fight anything too bad. There's a bad guy, but you run away from him and everything's okay. That's what it seems like they want. They don't want anything really exciting to happen.
So this one just blows my mind. So they remove when slaves are in short supply in the Underdark, the Drow send raiding parties to the surface to capture, I'm guessing, humans. Has become when laborers are in short supply in the Underdark, the Drow send raiding parties to the surface to capture. So what you're telling me is that they're capturing them. Are they paying them? Are they paying them minimum wage?
Well, they better be paying them union scale. If they're not paying them union scale, that's a crime.
Living wage. Come on.
Yeah.
Are they? They better not be threatening any kind of violence. The next one is really, really stupid. The wickedest of elves, Drow, are seldom seen. That's taken out. They can't be the wickedest of elves. Wicked is now offensive, where everybody wants to play a Drow. Slavers are enslavers.
Semantics, same thing, yeah.
For slaves, which they capture and bringing captives. Again, slaves and captives are not the same thing.
No.
A
captive is somebody you tie up and you throw them in a room and you wait for ransom to be paid.
Yes.
Slavers is somebody that you say, here's a pick, go. You're going to go mine over there until you fall over dead. That's not the same thing. Captives and slaves are not the same thing. Sorry.
Then slaves are turned into towards those they force to labor for them. Some semantics.
Well, it just shows they don't know the definition of words, which kind of confirms a lot of things we thought about the intelligence of people doing this.
Yeah. Slaves become serfs. Slaves become thralls.
Yeah, not the same. Once again, not the same thing.
Yeah. And then here's your dark. Dark becomes vile. Dark
ritual becomes a vile ritual. The dark places become the dangerous places.
Now you can't. So now I harbor dark, bloodthirsty thoughts to just take out the dark. I harbor vile, bloodthirsty thoughts. That would work.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you use? I mean, there's this laziness to it. Some of it, it's like Like, let me ask AI, ChatGPT, what is a good substitute for Doc?
Oh wait, go up a little bit because it says whoever posted this. No, go down. I'm sorry, go down. It says okay. Final look at the final thoughts. That cracked me up right there. I'm glad Wizards have made these changes, though ideally they would share their approach with the industry. Yeah, I kind of want to know what their approach is on a lot of this stuff, Eric, because it doesn't make any sense.
Yep.
Who's this suck up? This is one of those suck ups that think it's a great idea.
But you know what? I give them credit. They did a lot of work breaking this down. And in the beginning, they start saying, hey, 7 months ago at the summit, we asked, when are we going to get a changelog? And they went, oh, yeah. We're working on it. And they're like, all right, well, we waited 7 months and we're going to do our own changelog. I don't have to agree with their individual thoughts on this. I agree with them calling WotC out for not showing these changes. For
absolutely.
So, I mean, I give that. It was a lot of work. I mean, so
okay. I don't want to beat up on suck up here too much, but yeah, that's that I'm glad they put that there. But yeah, the fact that they think that was a boffo idea worries me because that tells me there's other people out there that think, yeah. I mean, what are you talking about? We're not going. You don't talk about slavery in your game. What do you? That's an X card right there. I mean, come on, we can't talk about slavery. Oh, wow! I've never been more sure than I have this moment. Once again, for posterity, November 22nd, 2023. That next year is going to be an absolute disaster for WotC Hasbro when it comes
this
to this
is what the masses want, Mike.
absolute disaster. They're going to not just not play this game, they're going to run away from this game like it has COVID type A plus. They don't want.
I got my shots, dude. I got my shots.
Yeah, you gotta get your shot, your COVID A plus shot. They're going to run away from this game so long and hard. You're going to think they're long distance runners because it's just and like I said, then add that to the fact that WotC's and Hasbro's released no information on their 50th anniversary at all, even though we're a month away. Just shows you that that this is. Look, if you're playing a retro clone right now, or if you're playing 3E, or if you're playing Pathfinder, you're playing 5E, just stick with that. You're going to be fine. You're going to be absolutely fine. You know what? The great thing about this game that we love so much is that with the materials we have in hand, you never need anything ever again that's ever going to be published by WotC or Hasbro. You don't need anything they're ever going to publish again. There's nothing they're going to put out that you have to have for your game. You have everything you need right now in your gaming closet and your imagination and your players' imaginations. That's all you're ever going to need. You're not going to need anything else, And then you know what? Another thing that's great: the third-party publishers, the Jeff Talanians, the Greg Gillespies, the Swords and Wizardries, the Paizos. They're going to still put out stuff that you can use, and it's going to be good stuff. And from what I see, it's better than any. Look, all WotC's been able to do the last 5 or 6 years is take classic D&D campaigns, like Against the Giants,
right,
and just update them to 5e, and they pat themselves on the back and say, "Oh man, we created a classic there." No, you didn't. You just stole what the other older generations did. You're just doing what AI does. They say the AI just takes what artists do and slaps it together and then doesn't give them credit. You're doing the same thing. That's all you're doing. You don't have one original idea. I mean, Ghosts of Saltmarsh wouldn't exist without Saltmarsh, right? I mean, Tomb of Annihilation wouldn't exist. I mean, really nothing they've published in the last 10 years would exist without what's gone before. So they've already been creatively bereft for quite a while. It just continues. It's going to continue into their 50th anniversary, and they're going to put out a really weak sauce product that's going to be more 4E than it's going to be 5.1. And we're just going to keep playing our games. we're going to keep playing the same games we've been playing for the last 50 years and look over there and go, yikes. Well, let's roll the dice. We got our games going great over here. We just look, my group just played last weekend. We had a blast. We've been playing together. 3/4 of my group, well, actually 3/5 of my group have been playing for the last 40 years. We're fine. We're still having a great time. We're having a blast. Well, now I say that so somebody, I mean, I bought the kick-ass popcorn holders they put out for the D&D movie. By the way, thank you again, Kim George, who my theater sold out immediately within like 2 days.
Oh.
And she got me the dragon head one. I'll try to pop it in maybe next week's show. I don't feel like running downstairs right now. She got me the big giant bucket and the dragon head. They looked awesome. So some of the stuff they put out looks cool. Now the game they put out looks like garbage and trash, but the tchotchkes they put out look awesome. I like some of the stuff they put out. I've got the cool, which I need to start bringing some of my stuff that I bought in the last few months. I have the cool Demon Idol dice roller. Have you seen that, Eric?
No.
It's about so big, and you put the dice in the head, and it rolls out the Demon Idol's belly or bowels or whatever. It lights up, Eric. You can put. I mean, it lights up and twinkles, and that stuff's cool. But once again, what's it based on, Eric? It's based on the Demon Idol that came out in 1977, 78.
Oh yeah.
Because they don't have an original idea in their head left in their head anymore. They don't know what they're doing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man! That got me fired up, baby.
We got a good ranting.
I mean, am I wrong when I say this is the D&D is going to be weak sauce next year and this is going to be garbage? I'm not wrong, am I?
I would have to agree with you. I think that they aren't really. They're trying to resell. They remember they know they can't change the game rules, the core rules themselves. The engine has to stay the same. They've learned what happens when you fuck with the engine. So now all they can do is just make. Oh well, this is the 2024 version of the fighter, or this, but everything else, and it's not going to be necessary for people.
And they're not changing it in a useful way. They're changing it in a politically correct, performative activism way.
Yeah,
they're not saying, okay, this is cool. They're just saying, well, you can't call your fighter savage or primitive anymore. I mean, that's not any kind of game change. That's just trying to be, trying to throw some performative activism in there.
Yeah,
and that's not actually changing the character class in any significant way. Look. All the best stuff that comes out now for D&D is all third party. All the best 5e's third party. All the best OSR stuff's third party. WotC and in particular, and Hasbro as a whole, they don't know what they're doing, and they're look, and as they said before, and Eric and I have talked about, they're moving toward a VTT model. They want you to play online anyway. They don't. They really don't care. It's like a Madden football. Madden football now, it's basically the only reason Madden football comes out is because they want you to play their online games where you have to pay to get the best teams because you pay to buy these packs that you open. And if you're lucky, you open the pack and get Pat Mahomes, and so you can put them on your online team and beat everybody else. And the game itself, which I'm a huge Madden fan, I've been buying it since, God knows when, the 2003 or 4. It's pretty much the same game as the last 5 years. They don't mess with it because they don't care about that. They care about the online experience because that's what brings in all their money. The online experience brings all their money. The people like me who like to sit at home and play like the Cowboys or like I did last year, Eric. I played the Jets because they were so terrible. I saw that as a challenge, and I got them. I got what's his name to the Super Bowl quarterback. Their quarterback to the Super Bowl.
I can see his face right now. I don't.
Well, the guy that just got benched. I got into the Super Bowl because I like challenges. I like to take the worst team every year and then run them for about 4 or 5 years and draft good and do some trades and get the guy, and without cheating, just because actually the way you do it, you don't have to cheat. And I try not to cheat, and I like to do that. But they don't care about me because you know what? I'm only buying the game one time. I'm only paying $45 for the game, and that's it. They want the person who goes online, who's going to keep making microtransactions, and who's going to keep trying to buy packs to get good players. They want that guy. And that's what Watts is going to turn into. Watts is going to turn into, we don't care about you guys that sit at home, buy our rules once and play at home. We want the VTT guy that plays online, that's going to buy the tokens, that's going to buy the spell effects, that's going to buy the special things. That's who we want to play our game now. And maybe they're right. Maybe that's where their money is now. Maybe that's where the money is. So, well, time will tell. But this next game is not going to resemble D&D as much as it's going to resemble something created by a committee. And we all know how great committees do, right? Committees are awesome when it comes to creating kick-ass content. Oh, boy.
God.
Football and whiskey tomorrow can't come soon enough to wipe this memory out of my head, Eric.
And football on Friday too.
Oh yeah, the first ever Black Friday game, which I can't believe they haven't done that before. That's weird. But unfortunately, it involves the Jets, so I'm a little skeptical.
Yeah, well, I could be highly intox and not go anywhere.
But it's a new quarterback. It's some kid I've never heard of. So I guess we'll see if he can do better than what's his name that I can't remember, that I already can't remember the name of, who's just so bad that it just Well, have a good Thanksgiving, Eric, with your family, and everybody out there. You guys have a good day too, and try to have fun with your family. And you know what? I'll tell you. A Thanksgiving tradition we used to have that we don't do anymore, that kind of sad, is so years and years ago, our Thanksgiving tradition was we would pull out B1 and Search the Unknown. I would make Rob and Matt, my two brothers, roll for random characters in the back, and they'd roll up a random party, and we'd go through B1. And we would laugh our ass off because some of those characters are really bad, Eric. In the back of B1. Some are really bad. We're talking like intelligence of 5 and stuff. And we would have a blast. And so we would try to work D&D into the holiday. So if you have the whole family around, pull out Swords and Wizardry Light, pull out some D&D, see if you can get people to play. It's much better to spend time around, I know a lot of people have traditions to play board games, but you could have fun playing D&D too. So,
yeah. Well, folks, thank you all for the lively chat. I pretty much kept up with it. Holy shit!
Wow,
it was an effort.
It was a busy because everybody's off today, Eric. They're all just hanging out waiting for us.
Yeah, I know. Folks, OSR Christmas. Still looking for donations to the end of the month. 10cars.tavern@gmail.com.
I'll send you some stuff. I got some stuff I can send.
Okay. Well, don't send it to me. Just be able to send it out.
Oh yeah, I'll just tell you what it is, and that way I can.
Yeah, if I have to send it, the donations that I am already getting from a person who wants to be anonymous is going to cut into the tavern's funding.
Oh wow. Well, it's good. It sounds like it's good stuff though, so that's great.
It is good stuff. It's amazing. This community is extremely generous. So thank you all.
Generous.
Other than that, folks, as always, be safe, be well, God bless. Roll those dice, roll them well. Tomorrow, I'm not sure if we're going to do a Discord chat because it is Thanksgiving. We'll see.
It's Thanksgiving night, yeah.
Live stream on Friday. I believe it's the Random Party Generator.
Oh, those guys. Oh, well, you know what? You're going to be on holiday. Nothing else to do. I mean, the Jets will have already lost. So, so just pop on and listen to those guys. That's going to be great.
All right, man.
Later, guys. Later, everyone. Have a great Thanksgiving. Great holiday.
God bless.
See you next week.